Gale stood by the panoramic window, looking at the endless flow of cars on the busy avenue. His posture, hands in the pockets of narrow jeans, relaxed but gathered shoulders, betrayed a man accustomed to space, yet not feeling at home in it. The door to the office opened. "Mr. Glenmore, I'm Ellie, your agent. Please, come in." The voice was low, warm, with a barely perceptible accent that blurred the boundaries between words, making them softer. Gale turned around. She wasn't smiling, she only gave a slight nod. Tall and a perfectly fitting dark blue suit that emphasized the smooth lines of her body. Dark curls gathered in a careless bun. Eyes the color of the ocean before a storm, evaluating but not judging. "Gale, please," he said, shaking her hand. "Mr. Glenmore is my father, and he's not thrilled with my choice of profession." "I understand." She led him to the table. "So, shall we look for a house that will finally provoke him, with a garage for motorcycles, which he surely does not approve of?" The corners of his lips twitched. "Can you read minds?" "I can read people," Ellie corrected, opening her tablet. "It's my job. You said on the phone, the priority is a spacious garage for a car and 2 motorcycles. It is logical to assume that this is a passion, and fathers usually do not encourage passions." Gale smiled. "You're right. A Harley and a Triumph, my main therapists." "More effective than a private psychologist?" A light mockery rang in her voice. He leaned back in the leather chair, studying her. "Cheaper, and you don't have to talk to them." "You don't ride?" Ellie held her gaze on the screen for a second. "I love speed, but only as a passenger. I haven't had a good relationship with gravity. I tried it once, ended up in a ditch. Since then, I only admire from the sidelines."
"A pity," he said. "The world looks different through the glass of a helmet. I'll take your word for it. So, the first option, a neighborhood on the hills, a modern project, white walls, minimalism." Gale winced. "A sterile box. I don't want to live in a set. I want to feel wood, stone, history." Ellie nodded. "We'll filter out the sterile boxes. Next, an old suburb, Spanish colonial style, 1920s, oak beams, terracotta tiles, a fireplace in the living room, and," she slid her finger across the screen, "a detached garage that can easily be converted into a workshop." Interest flared in his brown eyes. "Now that's better. Show me." They stood in the yard of the house. Gale walked around the building, touched the rough plaster, looked into the garage, assessing the height of its ceilings. "No," he finally said, returning to Ellie, who was leaning against his car. "Too respectable. Too many well-kept rose bushes. I feel like an imposter here." "Afraid the neighbors will complain about the noise of a motorcycle at 7 in the morning?" she suggested. "Exactly. I need a place with character, not necessarily beautiful, but honest." "Honest," she repeated, and approval sounded in her voice. "A good word. All right, then there is one more option. A house from the 60s, built by a self-taught architect. No rose bushes, only trees and a great view." "Let's go," Gale said without hesitation. The road wound in a serpentine fashion. Gale drove confidently, his hands resting on the wheel relaxed but controlling every movement of the car. He turned on the music, raspy vocals and powerful guitar riffs. "80s rock?" Ellie clarified. "Expected something more brutal?" "I am a connoisseur of nuances." He cast a quick glance at her. "Do you know much about this?" "I'm more into the 90s. Nirvana, Soundgarden, that same honest depression and dirt under the fingernails," she said with a smirk. "There was too much hairspray in the 80s. He laughed sincerely and loudly. "God, that's the most accurate description of the era I've heard. You don't look like a typical realtor," he added later. "And you, not like a typical star. I don't wear pearls and I don't smile at clients like a crazy woman because I know it irritates them. I show them what they need, not what I think they want to see." "And what is it that I need?" he asked. "Privacy. A space where you can take off the mask you wear for the cameras and castings. And a place where you can listen to music loudly and not be afraid of bothering anyone." He didn't answer. He just nodded, staring at the road. The music filled the silence, speaking for them both. The house turned out to be exactly like that, honest, a bit worn by time, with wooden floors creaking underfoot.
There, Ellie said, stopping in the middle of the living room. Wood, stone, history, and a complete absence of respectability. Gale walked past her onto the terrace. The wind ruffled his dark hair. God, he breathed out. Yes, this is it. She came and stood beside him, leaning against the wooden railing. They looked silently at the valley stretching below, at the birds soaring in the streams of hot air. The air smelled of warm wood and heated stone. Thank you, he said quietly. You were right. I'm always right. It's a professional deformation. He turned to her, leaning sideways against the railing. And outside of work? Are you always right then, too? The question hung in the air, direct and personal, breaking the unspoken rules of their communication. Ellie felt a light chill run down her spine. Outside of work, I prefer to be happy. It's simpler. Is it? He smiled, and rays of wrinkles gathered in the corners of his eyes. To me, happiness is the most difficult thing. You can't act it, you can't portray it. It either is, or it isn't. And do you have it? She asked before she could stop herself. His smile faded, but didn't disappear. Now, looking at this view, it's somewhere nearby. I can smell it. He took a step closer, not to her, but to the edge of the terrace, as if trying to take in the entire landscape. But the distance between them narrowed. She felt the heat coming from him and caught a light scent of leather, gasoline, and something simple, like soap. I'll take it, he said without turning around. Don't you want to check the bathroom first? Check the water pressure? Professional sarcasm, a defense mechanism, sounded in her voice again. No, I trust my gut. And yours. Weeks passed. Negotiations, paperwork. Their communication became a routine, but a strangely pleasant one. They no longer talked only about the house. He once mentioned his love for cooking. She mentioned a karaoke bar where she sometimes sang on Saturdays. One evening, while discussing the final contract amendments over the phone, the conversation slid onto abstract topics again. So, the mysterious immigrant who doesn't like to talk about herself, he began cautiously. No mystery. It's just that when people label you an outsider, they stop seeing everything else. And I am just me. And who are you? His voice sounded deeper, closer through the receiver. She fell silent, gathering her thoughts. I am a person who, at 15, skipped classes to listen to music in the park, who came to this country and realized that opportunities must be caught by the tail, who sometimes misses the smell of wet linden trees after the rain, but no one is interested in that. I am interested, he said simply, and in that simplicity there was no pathos, only sincerity. Her heart gave an involuntary throb. Well then, she tried to force a light tone. Now you know my biggest secret. I miss the trees. We have trees here too. Not those ones. And the rain isn't the same. But all right, enough about my nostalgia. Better tell me what you cooked today. He laughed, and the sound of his laughter was as warm as the midday sun. Seafood pasta, with homemade linguine, a white wine-based sauce with garlic and a pinch of chili. My God, she closed her eyes, imagining the scent. And I ate sushi at my computer while going through documents. You scare me. How? With your normalcy. A famous actor who, instead of cocktails in an expensive restaurant, prefers to mess around in the kitchen with pasta. It's suspicious. I'm not famous, he corrected, and a sudden weariness appeared in his voice. I just work. And the kitchen, that's my meditation. Everything there is real. Flour, water, fire. No fake pathos. no approval from my father. Ellie heard the same sadness in his voice. My boyfriend, she said suddenly, not quite understanding why, he doesn't cook. He orders food. He has a sense of humor. He's successful. It's convenient with him. A pause followed. She heard Gale take a sip of something on the other end of the line. Convenient? He repeated without intonation. That's important. Yes, she said, but the word sounded weak. It's very important. Not to lose yourself in a relationship. And do you lose yourself? His question was as quiet as a breath. She couldn't find an answer. I have to go, Gale. Shall we meet at the notary's tomorrow at 10? Of course. Good night, Ellie. Good night. She sat for a long time with the phone in her hand, looking at the city, feeling a crack appear in her own convenient, well-thought-out world. They met at the notary's. Everything was official and strict. They signed the papers and shook hands. The house now belonged to Gale. He followed her out into the scorching sun. Ellie, thank you for everything. It's my job, she said, putting on her sunglasses. The shield was up. I know, but still, you found me not just a house. He hesitated. Shall we celebrate? Coffee, as a thank you? She wavered. The boundary was right there. Should she cross it? Anything but coffee, she finally said. I drink coffee 10 times a day. It's boring. What do you want? He asked, and there was something new in his gaze, an open challenge. Ice cream, in a vanilla wafer cup, like children have. Excellent, he smiled. I know a place. They sat on a bench in a small park. It was absurdly and piercingly simple. So you move in next week. What is the first ritual? I'll light the fireplace, turn on some music, and I'll cook bolognese in the new kitchen, the real kind. It simmers for 4 hours. 4 hours, she shook her head. I don't have the patience for that. Because you don't know how to wait, he remarked. You are used to getting everything quickly, like your boyfriend. Successful, with a sense of humor, convenient. She froze with the ice cream in her hand. That sounded judgmental. No, an observation. I'm an actor. I've learned to read roles and people. You play the role of a successful, self-sufficient woman who is unfazed by anything, and you play it brilliantly. But I see the cracks. What cracks? Her voice trembled. The fact that you are sitting here with me on a bench, eating ice cream instead of returning to your convenient boyfriend and your convenient life. She lowered her hand holding the ice cream. To her own horror, her eyes behind the dark lenses of her glasses filled with tears. You have no right. I do, he interrupted her, not harshly, but quietly and insistently, because I wear a mask too. The mask of a guy who doesn't care about anything, who rides a motorcycle and cooks pasta while his father waits for him to finally get busy with real work. You and I, we are cut from the same cloth, Ellie. Only you decided to hide in convenience, and I in ostentatious indifference. She took off her glasses and looked at him, directly. Her blue eyes shone with unshed tears. He looked at her. Then he shifted his gaze to her ice cream. It's melting. She didn't look away. Let it melt. Slowly, giving her time to pull away, he reached out and ran his thumb across her cheek, wiping away a drop of ice cream that had fallen on her skin. The touch was as light as a breath of wind, but she shuddered all over, as if she had been touched by white-hot iron. He pulled his hand away. Sorry. Don't, she said quietly. They looked at each other, and all the noise of the city, car horns, voices of passers-by, merged into a continuous white noise. The world narrowed to a bench in a park, to 2 cups of melting ice cream, to the space between them, which suddenly became unbearably small and infinitely vast at the same time. I can't, she finally exhaled, looking away. I have a convenient life, I know, he finished for her. In his voice there was no anger, only understanding and the same sadness she felt. And I won't break it. I will just show you that it's possible to live differently, if you want to. And if I don't want to, Then we will just eat ice cream once a year, on the anniversary of the house purchase, and remember how something real almost happened." She laughed, and her laughter sounded stifled and nervous. "You know how to be dramatic, actor." "No," he shook his head. "I'm actually trying to stop doing that. Saying what I feel. For the first time in a long time. It's scary." "Yes," she agreed. "It's very scary." She looked at his hands, strong, with thin fingers holding the cup. Hands that knew how to control a motorcycle, cook food, and, just once, touch her cheek, leaving a sensation on her skin that wouldn't go away. "I need to go," she said, standing up. Her legs felt like cotton. "I know." He didn't try to hold her back. "Thanks for the ice cream." "Don't mention it." She walked a few steps away, then turned back. He was sitting on the bench, hunched over, looking somewhere into the distance toward the playground. A lonely man with a cup of ice cream, who had just bought himself a house, but looked as if he had lost something very important.
2 weeks passed. Ellie immersed herself in work, trying to forget that conversation, that touch. She saw her boyfriend, went to the movies with him, had dinner. Everything was as usual, convenient, predictable, and unbearably boring. One Saturday evening, she was standing on the stage of that same karaoke bar. The microphone was cold in her hand. She sang a few of her favorite songs. The audience applauded. She searched the crowd for a familiar face, but didn't find it, and she felt a strange emptiness. Stepping off the stage, she ordered a glass of water at the bar and sat in a far corner. Her phone vibrated. A message from Gale. "Greetings from the valley. The fireplace is burning, the bolognese is simmering on the stove. The only thing missing is a spectator to appreciate my culinary feats, and perhaps to sing something from the 90s a cappella." She smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her body, and suddenly she realized she didn't want to hide anymore, scribbling a quick reply. "The spectator is tired of convenient places and predictable endings. I'm on my way." She went outside. She didn't think about the consequences, about her boyfriend, or about work. She thought only of the winding road leading to the valley and the man waiting for her there. The road seemed endless. Finally, she turned onto the right dirt road and pulled up to the house. The windows glowed with a warm yellow light. She got out of the car. The door opened before she could even knock. Gale was standing on the threshold. In a simple t-shirt stained with something, in worn jeans, barefoot. He smelled of smoke, basil, and himself. They looked at each other in silence for a few seconds. No smiles, no greetings, just a look that held everything. Fear, hope, expectation, and an answer. "I couldn't not come," she finally said, her voice trembling. "I knew you would," he replied quietly. He stepped back, letting her inside. The house was exactly as she remembered it, but now it was cozy and alive. The divine scent of tomato sauce lingered in the air. "So, where is this legendary bolognese that takes 4 hours to cook?" "On the stove, going through the final stage of simmering." He didn't take his eyes off her. "Are you hungry?" "No," she answered honestly. "Not now." He took a step toward her, then another. Now they stood so close she could feel his breath. "I won't do anything, Ellie," he said softly, "until you say so yourself." She raised her hand, and slowly, as if afraid to startle him, ran her fingertips across his cheek. His skin was warm, slightly rough. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if in pain, and took a deeper breath. "I don't want to lose myself," she exhaled, her fingers trembling. "You won't." His voice was low, husky. "You'll find yourself. I'll help." That was the last barrier to collapse. She stood on her tiptoes, her arms winding around his neck, and he pressed her to him so tightly that there was no room left for fear or doubt. Their first kiss was not gentle. It was desperate, full of all the unspoken words that had been accumulating for months. It held the taste of salt from her tears, the sweetness of the vanilla ice cream from the distant park, and the bitterness of the long wait. It was a kiss of liberation, a kiss of confession, A kiss of coming home. When they finally broke their lips apart, they stood breathing in unison, listening to the logs crackling in the fireplace. There were only them, and the beginning of something real. The world narrowed to this room, to this attraction. "Wait," Ellie whispered, pulling away by a centimeter. I just need to look at you." He nodded, letting her lead. His palms rested on her waist. She studied his face, the shadows under her cheekbones, the moist glint in her eyes. "You are real," she breathed. "Yes," he leaned toward her temple. "And you are. And this is. Everything is real." She felt his touch. Her fingers trembled as she unbuttoned his shirt. She pressed her cheek to his chest, inhaling his scent, the smoke from the fireplace, and something deep and spicy. She felt the rapid beating of his heart beneath his skin. Gale picked her up in his arms. He was stronger than she thought. He carried her to the soft homespun rug right in front of the fireplace. "Here," he said, lowering her onto the soft wool. "I want to see the fire playing on your skin." Now there were no obstacles. He was slow, memorizing every moment. His lips touched her neck, shoulders, and the pulse that beat like a trapped bird. She felt the taste of his skin, his warmth. All the tenderness and passion stored inside were pouring out. The world around them ceased to exist. All that remained was this incredible feeling of unity, the heat of the fireplace, and the beating of two hearts in a single rhythm. Every movement was a confession. For a moment, they froze, merged into one, simply looking into each other's eyes. Then everything was overwhelmed by a wave of warmth. The mounting sensation, the depth, the weight of his body, it all anchored her to reality, to this house. The smell of smoke mingled with the scent of their bodies. In the light of the fire, they saw each other without masks. "Look at me," he asked huskily. "I want to see your eyes." She opened her eyes, which she had closed without realizing, and drowned in his gaze. And in that moment, when their gazes locked as tightly as their bodies, everything inside her transformed. A wave of rapture surged with such force that it took her breath away. The silence was broken only by the crackling of the fire and their heavy, leveling breath. He didn't move, his face buried in her neck, his weight still pressing down on her, and it was the most calming sensation of her life. He finally raised his head. His hair was wet with sweat, his face flushed. He looked at her, and in his gaze there was no triumph, only a deep, bottomless tenderness and something like wonder. He rolled onto his side, not letting her go, and pulled her to him, pressing her back against his chest. His hand rested on her stomach, his palm exactly over the place where the echo of their union still resonated within. They lay like that, watching the fire. No one spoke. Her skin was hot, her hair disheveled. Her entire body felt every muscle, every tension. It felt lived in, real. He ran his hand over her shoulder, and she flinched. Her skin was sensitive. "Cold?" he asked into her hair. She shook her head, pressing closer to him. "No," she thought. "This is how it feels when you come to life." And she closed her eyes, listening to his heart beating in unison with her own. They lay wrapped in silence and a heavy wool blanket that Gale had pulled off the sofa. Their skin breathed a slow, steady heat. Ellie felt his warmth with her entire back. He was the first to break the silence. "I didn't plan for this." She didn't move, listening to the echo of his words. "And what did you plan? To invite me for dinner, show me the house, and walk me to the car with a polite kiss on the cheek?" "Something like that. Safe, predictable. Like my life," she said quietly. His hand froze for a moment. "Yes, like your life." He turned her onto her back, forcing her to meet his gaze. In the light of the dying embers, his face was rugged, like a mountain range at sunset. Serious. "And now what?" he asked. The question hung in the air, heavy and inevitable. She raised her hand and touched his cheek. "I don't think I can go back to anything the way it was before this." She meant all of it, his closeness and this feeling, as if she had been cut open, her most hidden, vulnerable, and real parts taken out. And it wasn't scary. It was free. He caught her hand and kissed her palm.
I'm not asking you to decide anything. Not now. Just stay. Tonight. She nodded because she had no strength and no desire to say no. Because the thought of putting on clothes, getting into the car, and driving to her sterile, well-thought-out apartment caused physical revulsion. He stood up, and in the twilight, his silhouette was long and powerful. He reached out his hand to her. The bathroom. We're going to splash around like children. She allowed him to lift her up. Her legs felt weak, and she leaned against him, feeling his firmness, his support. He led her down a short hallway to the bathroom, spacious, with an old but clean cast-iron clawfoot tub. He turned on the water, and the room quickly filled with steam. The air became damp and thick. He tested the water with his hand, then helped her into the filling tub. The sensation was heavenly. Hot water warmed her tired muscles. She closed her eyes, tilting her head back against the edge of the tub. Gale sat behind her. He took the soap and began to slowly wash her shoulders. This wasn't just bathing, it was a ritual. Washing away layers of defense, masks, all that history that existed before this evening. He cared for her as if she were something infinitely important. Then it was her turn. She studied his shoulders and back, feeling the play of powerful muscles beneath her fingers. He sat with his eyes closed, trusting her completely. It was an admission. I see you, and I accept you. He dried her with a large, coarse towel, the pile of which pleasantly pricked her skin. Then he dried himself. They were clean, smelling of the same simple soap, their skin pink from the hot water. He led her not to the living room where they had lain before the fireplace, but to the bedroom. The room was almost empty, just a mattress on the floor covered with simple linens, and a guitar in the corner. Haven't settled in yet, he said, as if apologizing. It's perfect, she replied, because it was. Nothing extra. Only the essentials. Only them. He turned off the light, and moonlight flooded the room, silvery and cold, contrasting with the warmth emanating from their bodies. They lay down on the mattress, and he covered them with the same blanket. This time they lay face to face, touching each other. Tell me something, she asked. Something real, not from a press biography. He was silent for a moment, his breath steady and warm on her face. My first motorcycle. I was 16. An old beat-up Honda. I bought it with all the money I'd saved working construction. When my father found out, he nearly pinned me to the garage wall, said I'd end my life in a ditch. Gale paused, his fingers intertwining with hers. But I got on it and rode, and I cried with happiness, because for the first time in my life, I decided for myself where to go, and at what speed. She listened, and she could see this boy, young, angry, desperate, on his first pathetic motorcycle, escaping his father's suffocating love. And she understood that that boy was still here, inside this grown, successful man. And you? He asked. Something real. She inhaled, gathering her thoughts. To trust him with this. To trust him for real. I sang in the subway. When I first arrived here and was looking for work, there was no money. So I stood at different stations with a guitar. I earned money for food and for renting a corner in a communal apartment, but it was honest. I wasn't begging, I was earning. With my voice. He didn't say, well done, or how sad. He just pulled her closer and kissed her. Slowly. It was a kiss of understanding, a kiss of recognition. I heard you. I accept this too. Then they just lay like that for a while. He dozed off, his breath steady and deep in her hair, his hand resting on her waist. Ellie lay with her eyes open, looking at the moonlit window. She thought about her boyfriend, about how she would have to call him, to say, what? That it's all over? That she met someone else? That she found herself and lost her convenient life? But these thoughts caused no panic.
There was only a strange, unshakable peace. The decision had already matured somewhere deep inside, in that very place he had found in her. She felt his hand on her waist instinctively tighten, as if even through sleep he was afraid she would leave. She covered his palm with her own and pressed it closer to her. "Don't be afraid," she thought, closing her eyes and sinking into his breath, into his warmth. "I'm not going anywhere." Suddenly, a scent drew her out of her half-slumber, the same one that had been lingering in the house from the beginning, but now, after the storm of feelings, it broke through the sleepy oblivion with new force, thick, tomatoey, with notes of garlic and basil. She moved, and he woke up. "Where are you going?" His voice was husky with sleep. "Your bolognese," she said. "It's calling. I can hear it." Dale propped himself up on an elbow and listened. A quiet, lazy bubbling could be heard. Damn, 4 hours of simmering and we were here? He didn't finish, but a smirk sounded in his voice. "Haven't we earned it?" She turned to face him, and in the moonlight she saw him smiling. It was a new, relaxed, almost boyish smile. "You bet." He leaned in and gave her a quick, familiar kiss on the lips. "Let's go, or it'll burn and our entire feat will be in vain." They got up, throwing on whatever came to hand first. He his jeans, she his spacious t-shirt smelling of him and smoke. The fabric was soft and coarse at the same time, and she buried her nose in the collar, inhaling that scent as he led her by the hand to the kitchen. The kitchen was the heart of the house, large, with a worn wooden table and an old but clearly professional stove. On the smallest burner, under a lid, stood a heavy cast-iron pot. The bubbling was coming from right there. Gale lifted the lid, and a cloud of fragrant steam enveloped them. The scent was so rich that Ellie's mouth watered. "God," she exhaled, stepping closer and peering into the pot. The sauce was thick, deep ruby, with oily swirls. "This smells like everything is right in this world."
He stirred the sauce with a wooden spoon and tasted it. "Salt," he concluded, and without letting go of the spoon, adjusted the balance with a pinch of salt from a nearby mortar. His movements were confident, automatic. He was in his element here. "And the pasta?" she asked, feeling her hunger transform from a ghost of a sensation into a real animal growl. "Coming right up." He opened the refrigerator and took out a package of fresh, homemade linguine. 3 minutes and it'll be ready. While the water in another pot was boiling, he found a bottle of red wine on a shelf, uncorked it with one precise movement of the corkscrew, and poured it into 2 simple glass tumblers. No wine glasses. He handed one to her. "To unpredictability," she clinked glasses with him. "To everything that's real." They stood side by side at the stove, shoulder to shoulder, listening to the sound of the boiling water and the bubbling sauce. He dropped the pasta into the boiling water, and for a moment the steam hit his face. She looked at his profile, at his concentrated brow, at the way the muscles in his back played under his skin as he stirred. It was just as intimate as everything that had come before, this quiet, shared cooking after passion. 3 minutes later, he strained the pasta into a colander, letting the steam envelop them once more, and then placed it into a large bowl. He topped it with a dark, scorching hot bolognese. The scent became even brighter. "Plates can wait," he said, taking 2 forks and handing one to her. "We eat like this." They sat right on the kitchen floor, leaning their backs against the cabinets, placing the bowl between them. The floor was cool beneath her bare thighs, contrasting with the warmth emanating from the food and from him. She twirled a long strand of linguine, coated in sauce, around her fork and put it in her mouth. The taste was explosive, rich, deep, with notes of wine, the sweetness of simmered tomatoes, and the hearty flavor of beef. The pasta was perfectly al dente, firm and tender at the same time. "Oh God," she groaned, closing her eyes in pleasure. "This is incredible." He watched her, watching the way she ate, and in his eyes was a strange combination of pride and tenderness. "Hunger is the best cook," he remarked, but she shook her head. "No, it's you. You're a wizard." They ate in silence, passing the bowl back and forth, their forks occasionally meeting, which made them smile. The wine was tart and cold,
perfectly complementing the hot, rich pasta. She felt the warmth spreading through her entire body, warming her from the inside. Hunger, satisfied by such simple yet perfect food, after such a physical and emotional upheaval, felt like a sacrament, like an initiation rite into a new, real life. When the bowl was empty, he set it aside and leaned back against the cabinet. He looked tired, full, and absolutely happy. "Well?" he asked. "Was it worth the 4-hour wait?" She moved over to him, settling between his spread legs, her back against his chest, his arms automatically wrapped around her. "It was." She turned her head to look at him. "It was the best dinner of my life." "Because it's real," he said, kissing her temple. "Like everything today." She nodded, feeling the weight of satiety and happiness in every cell. The scent of tomatoes and garlic, mixed with the scent of their bodies, wine and old wood, was forever etched into her memory. It was the scent of choice, the scent of freedom, the scent of the home she had been looking for all these years without even knowing it. She felt strangely renewed, as if this evening had washed away the layers of others' expectations. "You know," she said softly, intertwining her fingers with his, "tomorrow morning my phone will explode with calls. Missed ones from my boyfriend, work emails, notifications about new viewings. My whole convenient world will demand my return." Gale looked at her intently, his gaze serious. "Are you afraid?" Ellie slowly shook her head and shifted her gaze to her hands. Hands that knew how to play in the subway, survive in a foreign country, and find homes for the most difficult clients. There was no desire in her to run or hide. "No," she replied with a quiet smile. "I'll resolve everything, finish what must be finished, and put periods where I used to put ellipses. I have enough strength for that. Now I know for sure that I can handle it." She turned to Gale, and her eyes reflected the peace of a person who had found their true ground. "Everything will be fine, not because the problems will disappear, but because I am no longer afraid of them." Gale reached out and covered her hand with his. In this gesture, there was not only attraction, but also deep respect. Outside the window, dawn began to break, painting the sky in a soft pink color. Ellie Lavender knew that a difficult day lay ahead, but for the first time in many years, she met it as the mistress of her own life. She was home, and this was only the beginning.
If you'd like to stay with this story a little longer, you can subscribe to the channel. It helps these quiet moments continue.